I very much start by acknowledging the original inhabitants on whose land we meet and paying respects to elders past, present and emerging. Also like to acknowledge the intersection of our original inhabitants and our rainbow communities, which can include sister girls and brother boys, and acknowledge their unique contributions to diversity on and around all the lands. And yes, I'm Sally Goldner, my pronouns are female, she, her. I'm going to give a couple of stories from my own experience, and as Peter said, why I'm a proud union member. This first one goes back a few years ago, mid-2000s, but it was very important to me. I worked for a manager who, unfortunately, was one of those people who had a bit of a, I've got a title, I'm allowed to order you around managers. This was in the not-for-profit sector, and this was when I was working as an accountant. And on a couple of occasions I got ordered to breach award conditions. I was told to alter timesheets. The manager actually went into people's Excel timesheets and changed them without permission, and also ordered me not to send a final payslip to someone before she had seen it, which I thought was inappropriate. There are duties under the roles of the finance person to send a payslip as soon as the pay is pretty much processed. And eventually I had to leave. It comes into tonight's theme because the person identified as part of the rainbow communities, and I think had some internalised queerphobia to some extent. And what came out of it though is I ended up leaving and tried to go through standard workers' comp channels, got a very poor response from an insurance company that said I'd been disciplined and therefore was not eligible to proceed further. And thankfully, thanks to my union membership, I found out about the the conciliation means for workers' comp for union members, and got some degree of better process and better outcome. Interestingly, the first thing that happened at the meeting, I was actually in a separate room to my ex-manager, was that there was no grounds for that insurance company to make that statement, which was just blatant dishonesty and probably an attempt by them to not pay out any money. The other incident that happened was about 2 years ago, or a series of incidents where I believe I was bullied and possibly even sexually harassed. I'll just describe a small content warning for description of the behaviour. Deep breath. If someone comes up to you and just effectively says, "You have to kiss me on the cheek," is that sexual harassment? I don't know technically, legally, but it certainly wasn't consensual. And one day in desperation, this person had one of those forceful personalities, and one day I just managed to go, I put my hand up and stop, and the person didn't know what had hit them. It's important. There's two things that come out of that. Before I go further, I want to say that I totally acknowledge we live in a horrendously patriarchal society where a lot of bullying, sexual harassment, intimate partner violence and so on is perpetrated by cis-het males onto cis-het females. Both the perpetrators in my two scenarios were women who identify under the rainbow community banner. I'm not going to get into details about lesbian, bi, queer, whichever, but that's who it was. And so I leave people with those case studies and say, preventing and dealing with workplace bullying. What came out of those stories for me? I acknowledge my privilege as someone who is educated and perhaps has access to resources such as internet, otherwise I probably wouldn't have found out about, I'm so sorry I forgot the name of the body, I think it's the Accident Conciliation and Compensation Commission it was called at the time, which helped conciliate a settlement for me. And also that I was aware of the Dispute Settlement Centre. I got some mediation in the second case, although in my opinion the person was not very much in good faith. Also was behaving in a very lawyer-like way rather than a good faith way. So I think if I took that out, access to resources, communication are really critical in preventing this. Obviously education and making people aware of it. But whilst affirming what I've just said about the gendered nature of our society, anyone of any gender or sexual orientation can bully and harass anyone else of any gender and sexual orientation, etc. And therefore I think that this is critical for trans and gender diverse people in a society that often is so binary, but we're very much aware of that, how we communicate our policies, how we educate, and more to the point, how we can prevent and ultimately get to a place which should have been the starting point in the first place. Every worker in every workplace, in every occupation, deserves total respect on every attribute and part of themselves, and deserves to go to work and feel safe and valued in every way.